In Critical Strike Silver Edition, the well-known Duelist class has recently been slightly reworked. Because of this, I want to know if this powerful class is still a viable close quarter option. So, in today's video, let's take an in-depth look at the Duelist in this narrated review. Alrighty, hello, and welcome back or welcome to the Shodasoda's official YouTube channel. In today's Critical Strike Silver Edition video, I figured that we should do a full review of the Duelist class, which is widely known for decent mobility, high damage, a versatile moveset, and some of the best quarter combat, CQC, ability, and CSSE. To go ahead and kick things off, let's take a look at the Duelist's basic info and statistics. The main stats for Duelist are its 90 health and 30 speed. These two stats combine to form a fast class with a large amount of health, a deadly combination. This is balanced by the fact that Duelist has only a minor amount of movement moves, and the only one it has barely dashes you more than a couple of studs. Additionally, the Duelist requires some prediction in order to successfully beat opponents, and several of its moves have a fair amount of delay between pressing the key on your keyboard and the Duelist actually doing what you want. The most notable is definitely the F move, which has a delay of around half a second, meaning that opponents can easily time any counters that they may have. Other than this though, Duelist is a pretty good class, so let's move on to its moveset. Starting with the LMB, it's a very simple attack that can deal great damage, especially when combined with Duelist Dash, Q. What I like about this LMB is that it combines decent damage with a large hitbox, meaning that any opponents who get too close will definitely feel quite a bit of damage. One drawback of Duelist LMB is that it has very old timing. For the first strike, it refreshes in 0.4 seconds and deals 10 damage. For the second strike, it deals the same 10 damage, but refreshes in 0.7 seconds. This could possibly lead to a few moments where your opponent doesn't take damage, but as long as you use this attack properly, I can't really see that being an issue other than when you stun them with parry. Next, let's talk about Duelist's Q move, called Dual Lunge. As the name implies, this move is essentially a double dashing move, which means that you can dash or lunge twice in a row if you do so fairly quickly. Each strike that you land successfully deals 12 damage to an opponent, making it a great way to deal damage while also disorienting them. Additionally, the dual lunge can also be a single lunge, which could be useful if you need to activate other moves such as the counter bubble. Anyways, the best advice that I can give for Duelist Dual Lunge would definitely be to use it for dealing damage, as it doesn't dash you very far and it deals way too much damage to be ignored. Recalling the counter move I talked about just now, let's move on to Duelist's E move, simply titled Parry. As the basic name implies, parry simply, parries an opponent's attack when activated. Unfortunately, it doesn't absorb all damage, meaning that you'll still take some, which I really dislike. What I do like about this move is that, at close range, it stuns opponents and allows you to either dash on them for extra damage, or to regroup yourself to quickly strategize. If an opponent isn't very close to you, the parry move loses a lot of its value, since it only absorbs about half of the damage and it slows your movement speed by a drastic amount. Because of this, it is highly recommended to be at a close range when using the parry move, because the stun is practically essential to keeping the Duelist alive. Speaking of keeping Duelist alive, let's discuss its final move, called Equalizer Blade. This move keeps Duelist alive by, as the name suggests, equalizing an opponent's health when Duelist is low. For example, a Duelist might be on 15 health while fighting a mage who has 40 health. If Duelist lands an Equalizer Blade, it will do a lot of damage and will make both players at a nearly equal health. However, because the Equalizer Blade does such low damage when it isn't actually equalizing, it's best only to use it when absolutely necessary, especially because it has no movement and has a pretty long activation delay of around a quarter to half second. Now that we're done discussing Duelist moveset and statistics, let's talk about some strategies and tips. I want to start with quite possibly the single most useful piece of information that I learned from using Duelist. This is the fact that Dual Lunge move Q, is not meant to be used for movement. Instead, it's used both as a finisher to deal extra damage after the Equalizer Blade, F, as well as a quick way to chip an opponent's health. As for the aforementioned F move, it should only be used when your health is in yellow or red, and your opponent's health is higher than yours. This allows Equalizer Blade to deal the most damage and possibly win the fight. One thing to note here is that because of the high delay for Equalizer Blade, I recommend to use this around 20 to 40 health, so that once it hits your opponent, you can go after them with Dual Lunge and LMB. One other thing I want to mention before moving on to the next tip is that Equalizer Blade deals a minimum of 5 damage per swing, or 10 damage total. In addition to this, if someone has the same health as you, each swing will do about 8 damage each. Again, it's all based on how much more health your opponent has than you, so keep that in mind. Another tip involves Duelist E move, parry. Because it stuns up enemies at close range, it's a highly effective way to stun someone and then deal damage by either spamming LMVs or by using Dual Lunge, which can grant you up to 24 damage. Also, whenever you successfully counter someone with parry, they get a pretty good amount of knockback, which is highly useful in situations where they might be getting a little bit too close, or during Final Strike, which is when you can knock them off of the edge and deal great damage. Of course, you could also use Equalizer Blade for a bit of big damage if your opponent has more health than you do, but it's definitely quite risky due to the cooldowns. For my final tip, I want to tell you on something very general about the Duelist close quarter playstyle, and that's the fact that if you are too far from an opponent while using Duelist, and they have ranged projectiles, you're probably going to lose. This is because Duelist has 0 range projectiles, and it relies pretty heavily on the parry move to stun opponents nearby so that you can deal big damage to them. Additionally, Duelist's only defense move is parry, which means that staying close to effectively utilize that move is pretty much essential. For the final section of this video, let's go ahead and talk about Duelist combos. The first and probably most common one is Q, LMB, and Q. This combo deals between 12 to 34 damage if every strike is successful. You start by lunging at your opponent with Q, and then slashing them with an LMB before once again lunging with Q for another 12 damage. This combo is great if you can execute it quickly and will definitely lower an opponent by a significant amount. Another combo is E plus F. This punishing combo not only stuns opponents using parry, but also allows you to deal potentially huge damage to them, up to about 28. This combo is best done when you are at a fairly low health, between 15 and 35. If you use this combo after the previously mentioned one, you can deal a ton of damage to an opponent as long as you're able to stay near them. For the next and final combo, we've got E plus LMB. This combo is very similar to E plus F, but it's a bit faster and does a pretty much guaranteed 20 damage, since the LMB swings fast and has a large hitbox. Of course, this does rely on you being able to stun your opponent with parry, so make sure to wait for them to do an attack before activating this move. With that though, we're kind of finished with this entire Duelist review and guide. To conclude, I would say that while Duelist is a pretty good class that deals great damage and has impressive mobility, it still falls behind other classes, such as Miner and Ghost. Additionally, the combos aren't that easy to activate, since Duelist is incredibly vulnerable to getting stunned, flinched, or shocked, resetting the moves and making the attacks have even longer delays. Anyways, I think that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, then please do make sure to give it a thumbs up and maybe even consider subscribing. Don't forget to check out the links down below. Have a great day. Bye-bye.